Hi everybody, a bit late getting on this one. I'd switched on the streamer and I thought it had connected, but it hadn't. So you've missed nothing much more interesting than taking off from Dublin. This is live weather, live time. The skies are a bit hazy, but a scattered cloud, not too bad. Currently we are away into a flight as it happens. We've only got about 120 miles to go. We're climbing up to 21,000. We've got a climb to 25,000 that we need to instigate now. So we'll let the computer do that. If anybody wants to leave a comment while they're watching this, I'm going to put like a test card thing on prior to starting a live stream. A, that lets me make sure I've got everything working right, and B, it gives people a bit of notice, because somebody complained that I just come online and start, and even my wife told me off about that. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll put on a test card which will say boarding time in 30 minutes or whatever, and that'll give me a chance to have a look at everything set up right and give anybody who's interested in watching a chance to get ready, get their cup of tea done and whatever they want to do. A funny angle with this, but we'll get it. I'm just trying to shut down the company messages. There's always two. There's an initial load sheet, and then there's the final load sheet, which I've already read. I just didn't accept it. The load sheets are quite an important document. They actually have on the McDo, you have to click accepted or something, which means you as the pilot or the first officer on behalf of the pilot have checked all the data in the load sheet and are happy with the center of gravity of the aircraft and the weight distribution, all that good stuff, because if things go wrong and they find out that the captain has actually not checked the load sheet, then that serious bad things happen. Clearly, the worst of which could be a bit of a bump with the ground. So reaching cruise height now, 25,000, and on the map it doesn't look like we've got a long way to go. So just been put over to Manchester Centre. That's quite common. As you fly around, you get passed from one centre to another. They check that you've got the right data coming out of your squawk box. It's much more than just a code. The way the radar works is it sends out a signal, and your transponder box receives that signal and then sends a message back. It's not like you'd expect radar to be, where it sends out a ping and receives the echo back. It's actually sending out a "Are you there?" signal, and your transponder sends back another message which says, "Yeah, I'm here. I'm at this height. I'm at this speed, going in this direction, and this is my call sign, and this is the squawk code that I was given when I took off." So the next waypoint is Blacker. This is where we should start descending. If we go to our flight plan, Blacker, we should come down to 221 and so on. And you can see that from this white arrow that's going to the right and pointing down. So very shortly we'll get a message from air traffic control to say time to start descending. You'll probably drop us down to 21,000 or 18,000 or something like that. We've got a decelerate message on here now, which is because we've passed that signal. So we can actually start managing our speed. Let's try and get it down to that. The reason we want to manage our speed is so that we're not going too fast to allow the landing gear to come down. The landing gear can only be deployed if we're going less than 250 knots. That's to extend the landing gear. To pull it back in, we have to be going less than 220 knots. So we just reached Blacker. I would expect the controllers to give me a height reduction now. If I don't get one in the next few seconds, I'm going to ask for one. There we go. Lovely. We'll put a bit of power into this as well. My goal is to not all of the messages are coming through. I don't know if you noticed. We got sent over to Scottish Centre, but we didn't get a message to go to Scottish Centre. I just responded to it. Now, here's interesting. Here's my getting to the 15,000 feet marker. That's where we'll get there. That's at Girvan. That's a seaside town. That's a very nice place. I've visited it lots of times. And this is the point that the computer says we should start to reduce our height. Now the next drop should be at, well, we wrote 1500 for Girvan. TRN is Turnberry. It's where one of the famous golf courses is. And we want to come down to 134 there. I expect we'll get a different height. Altitude. It's telling us to set managed speed, but like I say, I don't actually want to do that. I'm actually going to put a little bit of spoiler on. Oh man, I hate it when I do that wrong. It's because I'm zoomed in too far. You can hear the slight change in noise. I want to get down below the height to deploy flaps. Sorry, the speed to deploy flaps and landing gear. To be able to get the flaps 1 and the front flap, we need to be less than 215 knots. So we're coming up to Turnberry, and as we said at Turnberry, we should be reducing again to 134, that says. But we're safely down to 15,000 before we get to Turnberry, which is quite good. Right, on these buttons here, if you switch on the leftmost one, constraints, it highlights all the things on the map. For example, it says at Girvan we should be at flight level 150, which is actually told us to do. and speed no more than 250 knots. Well, I'll maybe make it 230 to give it a fighting chance. So Lanark, which is actually Lanark, another place in around the outskirts of Glasgow, is telling us we need to be at flight level 70, which is 7,000 feet, and speed of no greater than 230 knots. And the closer we get to the runway, I'll just zoom in a bit. Well, I knew we were going to be heading down, but that's a lot more down than I thought we'd be. So we're going to go down to 3,000 feet now. 3,000. Click on there, and we're going to need to give it some welly. That's it. So we're going down. Because we're going down so quickly, I've got to compromise between speed and altitude. So we're going to get down to 3,000 feet here, which is great. I don't really need to be dumping all that energy into the air brakes. So, and I'll just put this to manage mode again, because if we get down to 3,000 feet here, I've got plenty of time to reduce the speed. It's actually getting down to the altitude that's the issue. It's all energy. It's all how much velocity you're going at, how much you weigh, and that gives you your momentum. And then you've got to convert that into how effectively you can stop on the runway. How effective are your brakes? How effective are your reverse thrusters, the spoilers? And then you've got to convert all that energy that you have coming onto the runway into something else. Noise, heat, whatever. And so it's all a matter of balancing speed and altitude. As long as you know you can get down to the altitude okay, pretty much you know you've got just a short run at that low altitude to be able to get your speed down. Quite cloudy. Let's have a look outside. Mind your ears, it's going to get loud. Some lumpy old clouds. I've no idea what it's really like. I suspect this is supposed to be real weather, so I suspect it's like this. Bright blue skies here, but never mind. So as we're coming down, there's nothing to look at outside, so we may as well check the instrumentation again. Get rid of that. So we're expecting an ILS 23 approach. We're cleared to GOW, which is the main Glasgow beacon. No, what do you call it? Waypoint. Now I'm trying this little piece of software which is called Map Enhancer. I don't know if it works, and the idea is, instead of using Bing Maps, which so we're being pushed off to Glasgow approach now. Right, this is it with the Map Enhancer on. that's with it off. Doesn't really make any difference, but it's supposed to be a low level helper. It actually uses Google Maps, which I think have got better pictures. Right, so how are we doing? We are at our height, so we can start reducing speed now. We've got 300 odd knots to get rid of. So here's some things. Landing gear down. Well, we could... Oh, can't do that yet. We're still far too fast. Signs on. Seatbelt. Yeah, we can get the seatbelts on. Get the landing lights on. I nearly always forget them. Spoilers, we need to arm them. Flaps are going to be full, but we can't extend the flaps yet because we're still going far too fast. I'm waiting for them to give me a updated QNH, you know, barometric pressure. I don't know what it is in Glasgow just yet. They haven't told me. I'll try and get down to about 220 or something like that. 208 or 210. Right, we're not quite slow enough to reduce to lower the gear yet. The gear is great for creating drag. It really slows you down. So let's see. At Lanark we want to be at 230 knots and less than 7,000 feet. Well, we're actually quite low, being just over 3,000 feet. We can get the gear down now. There's the gear going down. There's the ground spoilers armed. Seat belt signs are on. I'm going to put some flaps out now. There's flaps 1. Flaps 2. You can even see the windmills turning, the wind generator turbines going around. Amazing, the scenery on this thing. I'm going to put this back into managed speed now. And put some more flaps on. We might go over speed momentarily. Ignore that, that's only a tiny touch over speed, nothing to worry about. So I think we're actually coming into Glasgow from the west side. Yeah, because we're heading into runway 23. So we're almost going over Glasgow city. The airport's quite a long way out of the city, I think. Quite frankly, I couldn't tell you where we are right at the moment. Except that... Oh yeah, we're in Lanark. Over Lanark at the moment. And we've got one more level of flaps to go. You notice our ILS is active. But we've got to get to this point here before we start our turn into Glasgow. Now, at that point, we need to be 2,900 or less. And when we get to GOW, we need to be at 2,500. And then that will start our glide slope into the runway. This blue line here is our get out of jail free card. That's what happens if we have to abort the landing. And that gives us our directions for heading back towards this GOW point, which is our beacon for getting in. You see the lochs, little lakes all over the place, and these hills are quite... Oh, I'm back in a second. That's the puzzle man. Person. Right, let's have a look where we are. We're creeping up on this CF-23. There's a few other aircraft around. Right, so we're nicely on the glide slope there. 2,900. Notice we're not receiving messages from the incoming. We're only seeing the outgoing messages. Don't know why that is. At this point, they'd normally give us the Q&H. So let's quickly pop onto the ATIS. Oh, it doesn't want to do that. Okay. Clearly some issue with data, I'd imagine. I did get a message up earlier saying that the outward connection had stopped. Alright, so this hill's quite high. We skim over it on our approach. Sorry if I'm whizzing this around very quickly. I need to adjust the speed of it, I think. How's that? That's better. It's making me feel a bit dizzy, so I don't know what it's making you feel like. Right, final check. We've got seat belts are on, ground spoilers are armed. We need to set braking. And we want full flaps, which we don't have yet. If we go to full flaps, we're going to be pinging the overspeed slightly. So landing gear down, signs on, cabin ready, give them a bing. On this plane you don't hear it. On the fly-by-wire A320 you do hear the bing bong. Right, so we're clear to land. We don't know what the Q&H is. Okay, so we might as well go into approach mode. We'll let the plane line itself up with the runway. I'll take over when we're a mile or two out.
Traffic.
There's our runway there. Glasgow's only got one runway. That's the Clyde, River Clyde. Oops, there is the traffic there, look. It depends what system other people are using, whether they're using ILS, AI air traffic control or real air traffic, whatever. Yes, of course you can, John, please. John Papa Michael, yes, you may ask me something. You might have to wait a second before I answer because it's going to get busy for a bit now. No, don't be sorry. Just go ahead. Ask whatever you want. Oh, that's fine. Don't worry. No problem. Right, so what the position we're in is that we have a plane in front of us. No, this is not the fly-by-wire plane. The fly-by-wire A320 is absolutely free. It's a magnificent piece of work. There's some non-functional things on it. This one is called the Fenix. That's Fenix. It costs about $40 or $50. But this is the most realistic A320. And you need to buy it from their site, the Fenix website. Okay, so we're coming in. Let's get self sorted out. Now, I'm going to assume that plane's going to... I can show you the plane very quickly, yeah. I've had a special livery made just for me. So this is the only plane that has that livery anywhere. There's a guy on flightsim.to who does liveries. I'll pop his details on in a little bit, perhaps on another flight. He does liveries for people for donations rather than a fixed price. He's amazing. He is so attentive to detail. When we get on the ground, I'll show you the plane better.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10, retard.
We'll see if this is a ghost plane or not. Huh, we came to stop in about the same place. That's interesting. Shush, 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 shush. Brakes have overheated. That's what they do. There's a brake fan there. Okay, so I'm just going to pull off the runway and then I'll show you the plane. Saul is the guy's name. He is a magician. It doesn't take very long to do it. He's very, very good. And he'll basically design the livery to suit you. Whatever you want on the livery, he'll put on for you. As soon as we get off this taxiway, I'll stop the plane and show you. I've actually paid extra for this version of Glasgow Airport. I used to live around here and quite enjoy flying back to my old stomping grounds. See if we can miss that plane's tail. It went on the grass, but never mind. We'll just go over here where the cheap planes fly from. This will do. Brakes on. So yeah, the plane. I'm going to shut down the engines because they make a lot of noise. No, I won't bother. I've just shut down the engine noise. You can probably hear it in my headset from the microphone, I mean. So this is the outside of the plane. I wanted my own airline, so he made it Nightmare Lines for me. I came up with that. And there's the YouTube thingy. That's the email address. You can write to me, nightmarelines@gmail.com. This is a logo I've had for about 7 or 8 years. And he very nicely popped that on. If we go into the plane and go to the cabin, so see the seats as normal, but if we turn around to face the back of the plane, you'll see all the seat backs have got my logo on them as well, which is a really nice touch. And if you zoom into them, they really take on the texture of the seat back. It's quite incredible. That one I think will show it best. No, maybe not. But you can see all the logos there. He was going to try and do something in the front, but there's something weird about the plane that where it says G Fenix, I was going to have G-NOS, G-NOSS. I can't send you the plane, I'm sorry. It's a licensed piece of kit, and if you have the license to fly it, it'll only fly on one computer. If you change computer, you have to reset the license. I did an upgrade to my computer and it took me about 3 days to work out that what I was doing wrong and why I couldn't get it to work. Sorry you don't have any money. I don't have any money because I paid for this. So anyway, that's the end of the flight. Thank you for watching. I'll be putting a warning out next time to say that I'll be flying in half an hour or something like that. So thanks for the chats. Thanks for everybody who watched and everybody who's going to watch. So this is Nightmare on Scam Street.